So I wanted to leave every day, day 1 through day 7.
You mean call me?
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
this is it. This is dumb. This is ridiculous. I don't need to do this. By day 4, it was okay. They've taught us so instead of just concentrating here, they taught us the new scanning system where you just notice the sensation, and it really focuses your mind, and you really feel sensations. That's all it's about. And so I was like, all right, I can go home and I can practice this at home. I don't need to be here. There were all kinds of self-chatter and talk and some moments were really, really great. And I'm like, okay, I can keep doing this. And then it wasn't day by day. It was literally hour by hour. I shouldn't say that I wanted to leave every day. At one point in every day, I wanted to leave. But it wasn't that I wanted to leave all day. So, but boy, was there a moment in my own room when it was completely silent, which is what I wanted, and my thoughts just kept rolling, and it wasn't future or past thoughts, it was just this imagination. And I was like, well, maybe I should be an author. Maybe I should write, because I've got some really crazy idea. When I stop and listen to this mind of mine, it's not, lamenting about the past or worrying about the future. It's these crazy stories that I'm making up about just the most like daydreams. And each time you just be calm and just go, nope, we're gonna scan the body. We're just gonna go back and forth over every part of the body. And it's another thought. And I literally got up and pulled at my hair and just shook myself and said, stop it, we're doing this. We're doing this. All to myself, because you're not supposed to say anything out loud. And so it was just my own silent frustration of and I sat down again and started my meditation. So the first day really so wake up at 4 a.m., super stoked about it actually. And they had an alarm clock, old school alarm clock, RCA, side table that had the annoying, yeah, hit that. And off running, here we go. 4:30, start to meditate, and I decided to meditate in my room. You had the option of room or in the hall. And I felt like I was disciplined enough to do that in my room. So I set up a little area, spine straight, and just concentrated on my breathing. And had a decent time. It was hard for 2 hours to be diligent and stay focused, but I knew that was what it was all about. So that passed, and now it's time for breakfast. And so we go to breakfast, the gong rings, you're allowed into the dining room, and checking out the breakfast, they had oatmeal, boo, and some weird hot something or another that didn't look very appealing, but they had granola, yay, and some oatmeal, or not oatmeal, but yogurt, and sprinkled some powdered sugar, not powdered sugar, brown sugar. Still learning how to use my words after 12 days. And found a place to sit, got a window seat, which there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 windows. Everybody else sat facing the wall, and there were a few tables in the center. There were about 37 to 40 girls, And so we're just all in there, and I looked for the coffee and I didn't see any, and so I just was being patient and eating my granola and waiting for the smell of coffee brewing, and didn't smell the coffee brewing. I was like, it's the first day, they need some time to brew it, it's fine. So I'm waiting and realize that I've missed something. So I go up to the tea station and there's instant coffee. Okay, so we're having instant coffee, not fresh brewed coffee. And so I take a cup, and the cups are this big, so I had no idea how many ounces, and I took 2 scoops of coffee and threw it in and poured some some water in, and then read the instructions, and it said 1 scoop per 9 ounces or 8 ounces. And I was like, well, I'm used to coffee, it's fine. And they had honey, so I got my favorite way of having coffee is tea or honey and some milk. And so I'm having that, and it's strong and it's good. I'm like, all right. Finished up, bust my plates, and we have our first sit at 8 o'clock. So I had time to go for a walk. And they had a specific walking area, and so I walked 4 times around and realized I wanted to know how far this was, this walking path that was just for women. And it ended up being 680 steps, because I did, of course, count literally my steps. So I did that 4 times, and then went back to my room, brushed my teeth, flossed, found that I would brush my teeth and floss 3 times a day and brush my teeth 5 times, because what else was there to do, is what I found. But so here we go, 8 o'clock, we're gonna sit for the first time for an hour with everyone. And so I have my bench, and they had already given us our seat assignments the night before. I was in row C, space 4, so I'm C4, dynamite. I'm gonna blow this up, so excited. Get settled, and here we go. Timer started, and everybody is quiet. There's a few scufflings, few and well, we've been meditating for 20 minutes every day since January 14th. And at some point, I don't know how long the time has passed, but my body was like, let's go. And I was like, nope, we're here for an hour. And then I feel this heat rising. And it was kind of like well, let's go. And I'm like talking to myself, no, we're gonna stay here until it's done. And the heat builds up, and my ears start getting hot, so hot. And I sit up a little straighter and try to get some nice deep breaths, put my arms on my hips. I'm like, just calm down, it's gonna be fine. You probably shouldn't have had that coffee, or at least 2 scoops, all right, just calm down. And then the next thing I know, the thought is, your head's on the ground. Oh, that's nice. How did your head get on the ground? And I open my eyes, and there are 2 very concerned women huddled around me. Miss, are you okay? I'm like, obviously not. They help me up, and I leave just kind of confused. I've never ever passed out. I literally passed
No kidding.
out.
Okay.
They take me out, and they're like, what do you need? And I said, I need to go back to my room and splash water on my face. I go back to the room, and I look at the clock, and it says 8:27. I literally was done at 20 minutes. The body was like, that's it, we're done. I lasted 23 minutes. I walked out and this poor woman like is looking very concerned. I came out, I just started cracking up at myself, and you can hear everything. It's quiet as a mouse, so any noise you make, everyone can hear. And so when I started laughing and I walked out of my room, she had the concerned smile, the concerned look was replaced with, oh, good, she's okay. And she was like, are you, want to go back? And I said, yeah, we're doing this. So yeah, I passed out for the first time in my first sit, and I don't remember it happening, and it just, and
my head's on the ground.
Oh,
nice.
It was literally that. Oh, how nice. It did feel really nice. So that was my first day.
Okay.
I blew it up.
Yeah, like C4.
Like C4. So yeah. That was my first day. Another story I have is day 5. I decide to go and talk to the assistant teacher. I have a couple of questions. And one of them was, we took what's called noble silence, where there's no talking, there's no eye contact, there's no communication, unless you absolutely have to have some kind of communication like I was having with the teacher. I have a question about the technique. I have a question about whatever. So what I had a question about was that while we're sitting for an hour, 3 times a day, at 8 a.m., 2:30, and 6:30 to 7:30. I think that's right. And no, 6 to 7. I could hear the men side sighing. There was somebody or a few people that were, and I could feel their pain, and I was like, isn't that breaking noble silence? And I was getting really like, I could feel it. I'm in pain too. We're all in pain. It sucks. It really sucks, and especially that second and third sit of the day, because the body it's a little fresher in the morning and it's maybe a little okay. So I asked her, I said, can you make an announcement or remind people what noble silence is? And she said, oh, you need to have compassion. I was like, yeah, I do. Okay, all right. I need to have compassion. They're in pain. They're letting the steamer off, kind of like a pressure cooker, and just to have compassion. Okay, all right. So most days from noon to 1, it was so hot, and you had a rest period, that I took a nap. And I set my alarm, and a lot of people set their alarms, especially for the 4 a.m. But there's a gong that comes around, but if your air conditioner is going, you can't hear the gong. So set the alarm for 12:50 for a 1 o'clock sit in my room. Every time that there was an opportunity to stay in my room, I stayed in my room. The only time I went to the meditation hall was the 3 hours that I had to, partly because I was annoyed by all of the distractions, and I really wanted to be diligent with my own practice, and 3 hours was enough, so to be a little annoyed. Let's work on that. So 1 o'clock, here we go. You can hear everything in the dormitories too. I heard the girl snoring next to me. I heard another girl crying softly in the other one, in the other room. You can hear the drawer opening. You can hear everything. Everything. So 1 o'clock, I can hear doors slamming. They're going to the meditation hall. I sit, and the last thing I heard was my alarm. I had hit snooze, and it went off, and I turned it off, and that just annoying sound, and turn that off. It's peaceful, it's quiet, I'm concentrating, I'm doing my meditation, and I hear Is that in my head? Have I actually gone insane? All I hear is an alarm clock going off, and have I just gotten so raw in myself that that's the last thing that I heard, and that's what I'm hearing now? And I'm okay, just breathe. And I can't shake it, and I get up, and I literally shake out and sit back down, and I just hear it. I'm pretty sure that's my neighbor's alarm clock. She hit snooze, and she's gone, and that's all I'm hearing. And I started to laugh. I was like, this is it. I get to work on my irritability. I get to work on being kind and compassionate to her, that she was quick to leave and it's okay, and she didn't do it on purpose, and all of these other negative thoughts that I would have had. I heard the teacher in my head that had just told me an hour and a half earlier, have compassion, work on your irritability. Boy, did I work on my irritability. I sat there and I realized that I didn't know what hell was, but that would definitely be a version of hell, and I was literally living through it, and I was good. I was really good, and I was started to be so thankful to her. And I was so just so excited that I had woken up from deciding not to be irritated. That was, it's only me that's going to experience that. And what choice do I have but to be irritated, or to think that it was completely hilarious and funny, and to find compassion, and it was just, it felt so good. It felt so good. And she came back at 2 o'clock and turned off the alarm, and I sighed. Thank you. When I told her, thank you, she looked at me confused, and I said, I just talked to the teacher about not being irritable, so you helped me work through that. She said, I heard you sigh and say thank you. That's how thin the walls are. My voice was like, oh, thank you. And she heard that.
Wow. Okay. Real thin.
Real thin. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it was a good experience. It was torture, but it was a good experience.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the next story. I've almost forgot. Okay. So after passing out and knowing that was my own body, mind, used to our 20-minute meditation,
Yeah.
I wish that I had a couple of things. A watch, but you're not supposed to open your eyes. You're not supposed to, in those 3 hours, 1 hour each, you're not supposed to move your legs, your arms, or open your eyes. You're supposed to sit with determination that you will do this for 1 hour without moving. And that started on day 4, on day 4. And that was so hard. So on the afternoon of the first day, I noticed that they had these Ricola mints. And so I took one of those and popped it in my mouth and just held it in my mouth between the top of the roof of my roof and my tongue, and just kind of held it there. And I don't know, it was fine. It was nice to, I don't know, it was a little bit of a distraction. It really didn't help. It was unnerving not knowing how, because time and space would just evaporate. You have no concept of how long this is gonna, how long you've been, like how long has time passed? Have I again passed out at any point as trying to escape from just focusing on my breath? At that point, the day 1 through 3 was just focusing on the breath, on the nose, and the mint hadn't completely dissolved at that point. So I grabbed another couple and realized that the mint dissolved about 2 hours after having it in my mouth, not sucking on it, you know, just holding it in my mouth. I was so excited. Here's my timer. So from 4:30 to 6:30, so from 4:30 to 5:30 in the morning, I would undo a mint that I had taken the night before and put it in my mouth. And you know, I had a clock. I didn't you know, you didn't have a strong determination from 4 to 6:30. I did open my eyes. I did stand up. I was very determined, but I did look at the clock. And so then I would take it out after an hour and put it back in the wrapper and put it in. And then from 8 to 9, I would have that mint and hold it in my mouth. And lo and behold, an hour later, ding, all right, you can open your eyes. And I was like, yes, I figured it out. I didn't have to have a clock. I didn't need my own little, you know, watch, because I saw other girls had watches and they had them propped up like behind somebody else so that they could
take a peek.
Kind of take a peek and
Go
see.
ahead and lend you my watch.
I know. I was like, oh, Adam has 2 watches. I could have used one of them. So I wish I would have brought a watch, but I figured out I was a very smart girl. I thought Bumpy would have loved that. Like, you're my clever grandchild. Yeah, I was very pleased that I figured that one out. It really, really helped. Yeah, but I had 3 of those mints. By the time I was done with it, I'm so sick of those Ricola mints. I did end up, like, they weren't completely dissolved. I actually brought 3 home so that you could, so you, just teeny little, like, little seeds, like little tiny quinoa seed of the Ricola. And then I brought a real Ricola so you could see the difference between the 2.
Yeah. They're not awesome mints in the first place.
They're not awesome mints.
They're fine mints.
Yep.
I actually think they're for your throat. Right?
Well, they said that they were cough drops.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So that you wouldn't cough and disturb other people. I was like, well, I'm not coughing.
But
But
they were great as a timer.
They were my timer. They were my timer. Some other things that were kind of funny. So there's no books. Oh, that was so hard. I wanted so many distractions. There was no writing, so I didn't bring a journal or anything to write little notes, reminders. There were so many things that I was like, oh, you need to remember to tell them about this, and I couldn't, and yeah, that was hard. So I really like the peace. I like the quiet. And then there were moments of sheer madness of like, whew, okay. There were signs in our room to let us know about various things. And there was one laminated sheet about how to clean your room and the bathroom before you left. I can't tell you how many times I read that front and back single piece of paper. I can't tell you how many times. I honestly, it was more than 10 times that I read that front and back, just because I needed something. But there was also this sign that says, please close this door. It may trigger the fire alarm. The steam may trigger the fire alarm. And this is on the door to my bathroom. And I read that sign so many times. The fact that I stumbled on it is amazing because it is etched in my head. Because then I started realizing that showering, while showering, has the word Aaron. And I never noticed, in showering, there's Aaron. And then I realized that alarm has arm and triggering has rig. And I pulled out all of the different words inside of words in that in that 2-sentence little sign. That's how maddening some of it was. What else? I definitely had a routine that I enjoyed and was very, very German in my sticking to it, and very diligent about being awake and being on time and all of that. So my routines were pretty funny with the 5 teeth brushing. I can't wait. I have a dentist appointment on Thursday. I can't wait. She's going to be totally amazed with my gums because I floss 3 times a day, every day. Probably would have done more, but was just, I don't know. But every day at 11, we had lunch, and so we'd be at the hall at 11. So I'd leave my room at 10:59 and take a short little soft stroll. Gong would ring, walk inside, get my food. Lunch was the last meal, and it was usually really, really good. There was one day of the meals where I decided to have 2 plates of salad instead of whatever they were having. One of them was split pea soup. I thought of you.
Favorite.
Yeah, my favorite. I skipped that. I can't remember what else was with that, but I was like, I guess it's a 2-plate salad day kind of day. And so I sat in the same spot, which had a clock right above me. And every day at 11:14, I said hi to you. So that was nice. There was one day, I think it was day 7, when I was finally feeling better because there was so much pain. I've never had back pain. I've never had back problems or leg problems, and boy, did it. I've never had so much pain before. Physical pain in my back and in my legs. Yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal.
Did you sit with your new little chair all the time?
Okay, right. So after I passed out the first day,
yeah, were you on your chair?
I was on my chair. I was on my chair, and so
you had farther to fall.
I had way farther to fall, and I fell forward and to the right.
Oh.
So I'm already tall. I think I was 4 feet in the air, just, I mean, I'm sitting up that tall. And so I got a little anxious about, because it was definitely my body taking over. But it didn't hurt. And so I was like, grappling with that in my meditation, like, how am I sitting? Am I going to do this? Do I need more cushions? Do I need cushions under my knees? I tried every combination of cushion under my chair, a cushion under my knees, more cushions under my knees, a cushion under the chair to lift it up. I tried everything and was in so much pain. In my room, I was using my pillow that Rachel gave me with the dragonflies on it, and I decided that I was going to take I was going to bring the pillow in, and I put the chair to the side, and I was going to do back and forth and see what felt good. And so on day 3, I went to the pillow and sat with bolsters under my legs, and most of them had been taken already. And so I had these little cushioned yoga blocks, but they were very cushiony, so when they were laid upon, they really squished down, so they weren't very supportive and lifting my legs. And so I sat day 3, day 4, day 5, and meanwhile, I took my chair back to my room, and on day 5, I got my chair back out and sat on it on my bed. The bed was very monk-like, very monastic. And so it was very firm. I didn't have to worry about popping any springs or harming it at all. There was no harming that thing. And was able to sit without anything, just the chair. The chair has been built correctly. You don't need anything else. So I sat for a couple of days in my room with the chair and was like, okay, I can do this again. Nothing, no pillows, no bolsters. I'm just going to sit normal. And that's what I did day 7.5, 8, 9, and 10. So I was really glad that I had brought both, so that I had the option. I wasn't just tortured with one way or another. So that was nice. And yeah, I was really happy because you're not supposed to have any thoughts, but one of the thoughts was, well, I suppose we could return it and get something else. Like, I don't know. And then I thought, what a shame. So I tried it again, but there was some anxiety about it. Just I didn't want to fall over. Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. So.
If you do want to return it, we can return it.
No, I love it now. No.
Okay.
No, I used it.
Okay, no, that's what I got, but just making sure.
Yeah.
We can do something different. But.
Yeah. What else?
You said the food was good?
Yeah, the food was all vegetarian. I was very grateful for it. It was so nice to have people taking care of all the food, taking care of the cleaning. You bust your own, plates and wash them off, but there was a deeper clean in the back somewhere. There was a dessert. There was upside down pineapple cake. It wasn't that great, but I was happy to have it. They had a banana muffin that I skipped.
Like split pea soup.
Yeah, I think it was actually the same day. I was like, okay, it's that kind of day. And then there was, brownies one day. That was really nice. So there was the 3 desserts, and then the last day there were chocolate chip cookies. So every other day there was a dessert. It was a treat. And having that last meal at 11, it was interesting watching how quickly I ate at the beginning. So you're not looking at anyone. In fact, I ended up wearing my sunglasses to avoid eye contact with people. And it was just very much just me, which felt really, really good. And I noticed I was sometimes finished at 11:14 eating my meal. And at the end, by day 7, actually maybe even earlier, day 5, I noticed that I was done eating at 11:30. So I just really slowed down, and it was really, really nice. And yeah, the food was, there was a couple of pasta dishes, there was a curry dish that was okay. There was lasagna that was really good. Trying to think. It wasn't, it was fairly, I never added anything to it. They had a place where you could add salt, pepper, there was soy sauce, there was sriracha. There was all kinds of condiments that you could add to the food, but I found that the food was really well prepared. I didn't need to add anything. I thought about adding sriracha, and after the heat experience of the first day, I realized that there's a lot of heat in me, and maybe I needed to not do that, and just kind of have a cooler time, cooler dishes and food wise. So that was nice. I drank 120 ounces of water every day. I know because of my 40-ounce bottle. I fill it up 3 times a day. They had filtered water and it tasted delicious. And again, you have this routine. And I had my rainbow umbrella that I carried with me always, that placeholded where I was going to sit with my water or whatever. So I would walk, and people afterwards said, "Oh, we just loved your bright, colorful umbrella," and it was just very sweet. I love how it's scalloped, and it was a pretty little parasol, basically, and it was really nice. There was one time that it rained, and it was the day that I went to talk to the teacher, and it was a very wonderful scene of all of these black umbrellas of students lined up outside. We had a sheet to put our names down at breakfast and at lunch, and then after lunch was when she would talk to you privately. And there were all of these black umbrellas, and I was at the end with my bright rainbow colored umbrella, and I was just like, what a great painting this would be.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it's a good picture in my head.
yeah, and the desert smelled so good, and the breeze felt so good. And there was one evening where far out in the distance in the east, there was this wonderful thundercloud that you could just see its actual formation and the lightning coming in into this thundercloud, and everyone stopped. Again, we're not talking, but you notice when people are just absolutely frozen, and they were frozen looking at this distant thundercloud. And it was just, there were certain moments that were shared silently that were so beautiful. Oh, things that I forgot that I wish I would have brought. Probably some closed-toed shoes for the walking. I only brought my flip-flops. I would have brought the watch. I would have brought my scissors for my bangs because they were driving me nuts. And I forgot a facial cleaner, so I was using the hand soap and washing my face, but there was no makeup. I mean, it was very monastic, and I mean, nobody's looking at you. So, what else? Oh, but I would have brought my hair thing, because I did wash my hair and had to plop it and didn't have anything to plop it into. A different hair tie I would have brought. Gosh, I had a whole list. I was like, you need to remember this for the next time. So I'm definitely going to do it again. Definitely going to do it again. It was worth it. I feel really, really good about where my mind is and the control I have and the focus. It'll be really interesting to see how my life is going forward, because I feel very, very focused. And I'm very pleased with that. The technique was very good. It's well worth learning.
Very excited.
Yeah.
So is there anything like, we talked about, your expectations. Did all the research you did beforehand help or hinder going into the experience?
It actually helped. I don't feel like there was anything. It was way more amazing than anything that anybody had told me. Everybody had said that it was hard work, that it was, or just hard. They just say hard. It's so hard. You don't realize how hard it is. And until you experience it, you have no idea how hard it is. It is so hard. But to have that driving determination that I've had, and to have prepared myself by doing intermittent fasting, prepared myself by not drinking, really cleansing my body, talking to the girls afterwards. There was one girl who was super cool. I really, really enjoyed her. I got to talk to her a little bit before, and this was her second round, and then talked to her afterwards, and she had a horrible time. Horrible time. And she said, I think it's because I stopped drinking and smoking and taking Xanax and doing this and doing that the day I came. So she was really fighting a lot of demons.
Yeah.
A lot of demons. It's already hard. So yeah.
How long would it take you to catch yourself daydreaming?
So it was probably, so the first part of it was just just feeling the breath and feeling the sensation, and that was good for about 4 breaths, and then it choo,
yeah,
and then choo, and then and so I was pretty quick to go away, but I was pretty quick to come back as well. And then when we started doing the scanning, I would, like the one day that I've just absolutely freaked out on myself, I could hardly get an inch before the thought would come up. I'm like, no. And then I go back. And so I literally scanned this part of my body like 100,000 times, I feel like, because I just kept starting over and over and over. I'm like, we are doing this. We're doing this. We're doing this. And so I feel really fortunate that my determination was so strong, and I did a lot of hard work, really, really hard work, because it was so easy. There were a couple of afternoons where I'd be sitting and I'd literally find myself falling asleep in my head going backwards. Ooh, okay. Nice breath in, breath out, and just really fortunate that I was so determined to train my mind to get it focused and to get it laser pointed, that when we did the 1 hour sits every day, that on day 7 or 8, all the days blend together, I finally got the benefits. The pain finally went away. But they tell us that the pain is part of the aversion of not wanting to feel the pain, and so we escape into our minds to escape from the pain that we're feeling. But what we want to do is feel the pain, and that's hard. It's hard to go down your back and go, yeah, I feel that, and I'm breathing, and I feel that, and I feel it, and you don't do anything else but just notice the sensation. You just notice the sensation over and over, and it's so hard to be okay and not to skip over it. I just want to slide right past that pain and go to the good parts. And you're just with it. And on that 7th day, I had been so with it that all of a sudden I'm scanning and I go to the places and there isn't pain there now. Huh. And I scan and my hips are okay, my knees are okay, and I can feel all the different parts all the way down. There's a lot of me to go through, all the way down to my feet, and then from the feet all the way back up. And then once you get to that point, you take an inhale and exhale and just kind of pull that breath up and then pull it down, and that feels so good. And then they tell you, don't get attached to that. Because then that's the craving, that feeling that, like, I literally had the most euphoric experience without any drugs. Drugs do this. I know drugs do this. And to do it on my own felt so good. It felt so good. And then I realized, don't get attached. That's what he says over and over. Don't get attached. Don't skip the bad feelings, and don't get attached to the good feelings. And so then I went part by part again and started the hard work, and I realized that it was that hard, determined work of going by piece by feeling every sensation that you can feel on every part of your body, from top to bottom, bottom to top, that hard work is where that euphoria came from. And as soon as I would stop working, the pain came back. Oh, and so the only constant is change. And you have to do the hard work. And sometimes that euphoria is there, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes there's pain, and sometimes there's not. And sometimes there's just being. And that felt great too, without attachment. To experience it, yes. When people say, this is going to be hard, you're like, okay. But to actually experience it, there were times where I thought, okay, this is what they mean. Nope. It was later. That's what they mean. Oh, this is what's hard. It was again that moment of just pure anger at myself for the thoughts and wanting to escape and wanting to have, to not do the work. It did not want to do the work. And it felt like 4 or 5 years of college crammed into 10 days. You've got to do the work. If you're going to get through this bull, you've just got to put in the time. You've got to put in the time. And there's so many, it was so easy to daydream. Oh my gosh, it would have been so much easier to daydream and to escape into the, I'm hilarious in my head. I mean, I'm a hoot. I giggled at myself and laughed and just was having a great time. And then was like, nope, we're not doing the work. You have to do the work. You have to do the work. So I did the work, and the work paid off. It definitely paid off.
So with that, what would you say in a nutshell that you learned, or the payoff from the work? Like what did you get out of it ultimately?
Without great suffering, there cannot be a reward. One must suffer and go through that suffering and really be with it. Like I've never experienced so much pain, and it would be so easy to escape from it because the mind is like, yeah, let's get out of here. And to really just do that work reaped those wonderful, euphoric, amazing benefits that, again, you don't want to cling to because that's suffering as well. You don't want to have that craving of feeling so good. You just want to be equanimous. You want to be equal in all feelings. Just, it is what it is, and this too shall change. And really feel your own sensation of your body. This is a human experience, so feel your humanity. Feel your body. Be one with it and be okay.